Unmuted.
Holy shit.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hopefully, kind of waiting. There's a little bit of latency here. Kind of making sure we don't do this super often, so kind of making sure everything's working. Anyway, I'm Arthur. We got Joshua here with us.
Hello,
We're
hello.
two of the developers. And for those of you just joining, most of you probably been on our stream before. But those of you just joining us, we play the game and we kind of just shoot the crap and have fun. We answer whatever questions you want. We're live streaming to YouTube, Twitch, and Steam. So any questions on any of them, we'll try our best to get to all your questions. Doesn't have to be about SimAirport, but that's what we're probably best at answering. I think last time, what did we talk about? Cargo ships and trains for a little bit? Something like that. Anyway, yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in on any of the channels. And beyond that, we're going to show you stuff from the latest patch, which just came out the other day. Pretty good one. I know it had been a long time in the making, but we've got a bunch of mods loaded. Probably a whole lot of your mods, Mod Air. Thank you very much for putting up so many. Some pretty cool stuff too. Actually, we were talking about a parking mod. Is that by Mod Air?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we were talking about that mod this morning, a few hours back, which looks really cool. Even though I know it is just decoration right now, but maybe we'll get functionality in so that you can make it more than that.
By the way, a couple of people over on Twitch said the audio's a bit, or your voice is a bit low. Just put yours a bit higher. Mine is not a bit higher, so let us guys know.
Yeah,
if it's better now.
Hopefully, yeah. If there's any sound, audio issues at all, or video, really anything, you guys let us know. We're here for you guys. I mean, it's kind of fun to stream, but we do this for you guys so you guys can figure out what exactly we're thinking, and so yeah, you can give us feedback directly. And so you started with the same save as last time, is that right?
Yeah, this one is the same save we pretty much ended on last time. And
yeah, so every time we've streamed, we've been running the same save. So we're picking up where we've left off. I think it's probably now like a year in the making of this save. Getting close, maybe. Let's see, I'm gonna pull up Twitch as well.
Steam seems to have some problems with the stream. It seems like it's cutting out sometimes, but I can't tell exactly.
Yeah, I swear it happens every time. Really, I think the quality might be best on Twitch, but if you are on Steam, you're welcome to jump over to Twitch or YouTube if you're having issues. Otherwise, right now it does look like it's running pretty good.
Actually, seems like YouTube has the best quality at the moment. At least sound seems to be best there. Even though it was the last month it started.
Cool. I'll turn my audio up too. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys all for joining us. If you have questions, let us know. Tark88. Yeah, this is live. 86, I'm sorry. Almost silence in Twitch. No, it sounds better to me now. I'll turn up my local audio a little bit though too.
I can still go a bit, but I've already got from minus 7.5 up to minus 4.5 decibel. By the way, first question over on Twitch. Will it be possible to buy land someday? It actually is possible. You'll need to research it, and you will have to have the, I think, COO present on your map in an office, but it works. Ah, he meant more land.
More land.
More land
This
than we
is-
currently is available at maximum, I guess.
So there's two things stopping us from doing it. One is rendering, and that's basically a solved problem. We could render more land pretty easily on today's graphics cards, obviously. Although it's not as easy as it may seem like, even though you play games where you've got vast amounts of area, you've got to be able to render all of it, and it's all got to be able to change at runtime. We can solve the rendering side, and that wasn't true maybe like a year or two ago, or at least I didn't know exactly how we were going to solve it. Now I know exactly how we could solve it. The next problem then is pathfinding, and basically everything that happens in the airport goes through like reachability queries, and it boils down to kind of pathfinding, but also the graph itself. As the land gets bigger, we have to there's more cells that have to get looked at, and so I mean we could make you can edit your save file and make maps that are way bigger than what you can buy. It's a matter of how well your computer runs it. So really the question comes down to, are we going to optimize a whole lot more? Because you can do it today, it's just the experience is potentially not going to be great. It's something that could be modded in too, so that it's like a native function and you don't have to go edit the save file yourself. I'm not sure how much we're gonna try to optimize that kind of, like on a really big scale like that, to try to make the game run on really big maps. We've tossed around the idea of having outdoor area, like giving you two different plots of land, basically. One area where you can build your terminal, and then letting you build your roadways and your taxiways basically on like 2 square kilometers worth of area. And maybe call it like building permits or something like that. That's feasible because we wouldn't have to pathfind over all of the, or at least most passengers wouldn't have to pathfind over all of the outdoor area. But we start getting into how much value does that add to the gameplay, and I don't know. I love the idea. I'm kind of mixed on whether the mechanic it makes sense. It's kind of, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of I don't know how depthy it is. It kind of makes the barrier to entry. It's a whole new concept you have to understand. Just start diving in and building, and we're kind of careful about that stuff. So I don't know the answer. I will tell you though, you can edit your save today and see how it runs, and play on as big a map as your computer can handle.
It's quite interesting. I actually made this specifically I can't talk anymore. I made this specific function in one of the proxies already. So theoretically, you can make a simple mod just expanding it. Just expanding how many cells you can own.
Gotcha. So what he's saying is that a mod could very easily do this today. Perhaps you'll have to build that mod. Actually, that's something I noticed though, Joshua, is it seems like the example mods are a really good way to show people how to use it, and it's probably better than the documentation even in usefulness.
It depends. There's a bunch of stuff Motte and the modding guys really needed help with. There's also a couple of things that were just hard-coded. So whenever I added a new config to the component config over to the wiki, we just ran into some issue. But over time, I'm adding stuff, and the guys are testing out stuff, and we really get
Yeah,
to fix
I've
those
seen that.
issues.
That's been a good feedback loop. I've been watching. It's been a tight feedback loop. You've been get them in for them quick, and yeah, yeah. No, I don't disagree at all. I do think. So one thing I look for when I look over the mods, actually, pretty much every day is I like to see different people. And no offense to you, Mod, I love your stuff. But I know your stuff's gonna be cool. I I am always interested to see are there new people contributing mods, because to me that's a good sign. It's a sign that we'll get more and more people making mods and playing them, and that's always a positive thing. You're gonna see some of your mods in YouTube today, Mod Air. We've got, I think you got a good number of them loaded, yeah.
Yeah, I can actually go through the list really quick. It's not too many. I've got the tree mods, which were the first mods by Thunder. We still got one of the mods which has no graphic, but those trees, those outdoor trees, are pretty much the first mod that got online. He pretty much secured the first spot. Chick made some lovely slanted remote bus gates,
Yeah, I saw those.
and I've got the airline signs all over from Hubbard, and enter-exit signs in blue and red by Chicky 2, the wooden bench.
Are they emitters? Do they give information?
I think the enter-exit signs don't. I guess Chick will help us on that topic. I've seen him in chat. SIM card vending by Chick. Water dispenser by Chick. Wooden bench is lovely. It's just an outdoor bench by Thunder. This one is also really lovely. It's a ticketing kiosk, but it also has baggage collection. So you can, without staff, have a ticketing kiosk, but still have the
Still
baggaging.
back forward from it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Some extra cabinets from Hubbard. And I think that's it for this playthrough.
You didn't get the Coke machine?
No, I didn't get all the vending machines.
Ah, I love the Coke vending machine. Did you get the rental cars?
Nope.
No rental cars either. Oh, bummer. See, I'm kind of gonna skip around here. There's questions on. I'll start from the top. Elevators from Tigger Kitty. I don't know if we're gonna do elevators or not. I don't know if it adds that much. So with elevators, like if we add elevators, then we have to add. The only thing that would be useful for elevators right now is the golf cart to get it off the damn stairs. But then I feel like we have to add wheelchairs and that kind of basically give it more use. Its usage right now would be somewhat limited. So I'm kind of versus the time effort. So all that kind of pathfinding stuff, it's hard enough as it is to get them reliably using walkways and escalators and like load balancing that in real time. It's actually a much harder problem than I ever expected it to be. Elevators, the same thing, but potentially even worse. And the uses, it could work just the exact same as escalators in terms of usage, which to me just doesn't add a ton except for the golf cart. I do hate seeing the golf cart on stairs, but sometimes you win some, you lose some. Yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on elevators. Let's see. Steve S on YouTube. Fuel lines under baggage lines on the same level. Probably not. If anything, I'd rather make it more complex and add up and down objects if we were gonna do anything with those at all. Something, I don't know, something kind of quirky, but that I like about them only being allowed on -1. I don't know. Maybe that's me being lazy though. But there's some. I remember when it first came out, people asked why can they only be on -1, and I jokingly responded to a forum thread, and I said because that's what the law requires. It requires they can't be dug any deeper than one story down. And I want to say, I think Sci-Fi backed me up on the forum, and he didn't realize I was totally joking. But I feel like it's kind of a cool, quirky thing.
Oh, you're pretty much setting it up for the CTO having to research a permission for it. So once you research the permission for it, you can put fuel transitions and fuel pipelines on -2.
Yeah. See, and I think that would be. I'd be kind of cool with that. I don't want them to be on the same level like easy mode style. I'm just not a big fan of. Yeah, I don't think it adds much to the game when it's like easy mode style like that. I'd rather it be a little harder. Especially now that it's not as frustrating to place like baggage stuff. So routing around it, I don't know. It's not a huge deal to me.
By the way, Sadman Place asked how the ramps work. I suppose he means the road ramps. You've got 2 road ramps under structures, one for up and one for down. If you're on G, you have to go down, and you just place it somewhere. I'd always recommend placing a couple of tiles of road in front of it. And once you're below the ground, you can just place road underground. It will automatically place a foundation around it. And yeah, place underground stuff as much as you want. And at some point you just place a ramp up. Somewhere where there's space for it. Like here. And you can go up again. You just need to notice where the small arrows are. You can see down here the axis. This means that this one is not the entry. The green arrows on the top, like here, means those are the and this one is the entry side. So vehicles will drive in here and come out here.
So extra Lucho on YouTube. It'd be amazing if we launched the game on mobile. It's not happening. The game requires quite a bit of RAM, and it's a performance thing. And getting it to run fast enough on beefy computers is hard enough. I don't envy anyone that tried to get a game like this running on mobile, and without totally nerfing the game. I don't have any real desire to do that. So you could pretty much be sure that PC, Mac, and Linux are where it's at for SimAirport. Hey Josh, Mod Air said on YouTube, we really need more configs. Can we just export all of the objects out?
I've actually got a function to export single objects, but I don't have one for every object. The problem is I have to.
Function, you just run it for each object.
Yeah, I could, but I still have to curate all of them. We can just post the exports directly. They need to be curated a little. And there's a couple I don't even want the guys to try because I already know they are problematic.
Problem.
Like
Yeah.
pretty much everything around cafes. Do I even have one? Yeah. So specifically the chilled food displays and hot food displays are really, really, really problematic. They pretty much hard-coded what they sell, and the pictures are actually the easier one, but they have a bunch of hard-coded stuff in them that needs to be changed first. And I don't
Yeah.
want to add a component config before it's usable.
Yeah, no, I follow. We could export a number of them. I mean, probably 70% would be pretty good out of the box. Yeah.
I actually
I
wanted
follow.
to add some yesterday and today, but the hotfix and stream preparation took a little bit precedence.
Yeah, yeah, no
So
worries at all. I do
definitely,
though. We'll get more up there.
yeah,
For
definitely.
sure. Uh, Kexexpert over on YouTube. I missed a function that packs can dynamically choose their transport. So if buses are full, they automatically switch to LRT. Because on my map, many refuse to use the LRT because it has a little longer way. Ooh, I remember if Michael, if you're listening, I remember you and we had a debate about this. And yeah, so right now that there's a threshold where they fall off, and it's a fairly, although I think he improved this some, so it uses like a tiered approach. It's actually basically a traveling salesman problem, to figure out what is it more optimal for him to be a little bit later and to go with the ideal transport option, or is it better for him to wait a little bit longer and go with a suboptimal, or to immediately use a suboptimal, and then balancing that so that he picks the one that is truly most optimal, and then you've got 25,000 passengers coming through every day, and running that calculation for each can be a little bit burdensome. I thought we had that running fairly well though.
The
So
problem, I
actually,
guess,
yeah, go ahead.
if the bus is always the better option, like if it's a pretty long distance and the bus is never completely full, then the LRT won't be used because the bus is always the better option.
Well, if the bus is always better and not full, then they should always use the bus.
Yeah.
The
So
question is, when the bus is full, at what point should they fail over to the suboptimal, and how suboptimal is okay? And it truly, it's a traveling salesman problem, because you may have, I mean, there's some constraint around it, but you can end up with having 6 different possible drop-offs. You have to evaluate each of them with their capacity in mind, and then take into account their distance.
Oh
And
yeah, by the way, since we're on the topic, for everyone who didn't see it on the announcement, you can now do up to 3 drop-off and pickup zones if you research multiple drop-off and pickups over on research under operations.
yeah, and the addition of that feature is exactly what was the catalyst for this quote-unquote problem. It's just inherent in having multiple options. So previously, with only 2, we were able to basically just unleash the gates at both of them, and I think we literally just had it pretty much randomized. Now you don't want to do that, because one may be so much worse off that it makes more sense to just wait longer for the one. If your map is really treating that situation poorly, send your save over so we can take a look. And definitely in the email explain that it's related, what you're sending it in related to. This is one of those where it's basically never a bug. I mean, it's working. It's just a matter of can we make it more optimal? Yeah, and that's honestly, we like those kind. They can eat up a lot of time, but they're fun to try to tweak and get improvements on. Let's see.
Also want to tweak. I've got an issue up for it, but the packs really, or all agents actually, really love to move over the rail track. I guess because the station is replaceable and the station tries to push them off.
It's also because. Oh yeah. Yeah. That. Okay. You want me to put that in right now?
No, I've already got that issue up. I talked, I think, with Passy over on Discord specifically about this issue, and I just noticed it happening here too. I've got the major idea was like making the LRT track, the whole track, its own sector, and giving it a extremely high penalty moving over it.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that because if it's the only route, then you're gonna get big expansion everywhere left. It's gonna check every subsector left. But that is exactly the issue is that they're avoiding that placeable and there's no penalty on the track. They're also avoiding the road because there is a penalty on the road.
Which is fine, but they should also avoid the track. But there's currently no way they can see the track or that have a penalty for it.
The track should be weighted exactly the same as the road. And then they would prefer the placeable. And really the LRT should have no penalty at all.
Which one? The station?
Yeah, actually that may fix it all by itself even. Just
having
no penalty.
One of the two should get the result you really are looking for. Oh yeah, on the topic of multiple drop-off, we also changed how buses come into the airport. Previously, a bus was always trying to get to a drop-off point, to the only drop-off point, since you only had the ability to add one, and afterwards tried to get to the pickup point. This is why I had this funky loop I just removed here. If a bus was not able to get to the pickup point after getting to drop-offs, it would just spawn a second bus that then drove directly to the pickup point. This is now changed. With this update, per zone there's gonna be one bus spawning. So I've completely separated the two lanes, and one bus is always going to go to drop-offs and one bus is always going to go down to pickups, as we can see right here. Lovely timing. Completely planned.
You choreographed this entire thing, huh?
Of course.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna cherry pick one from I'm gonna come back. I know you got a question up there, Madair. I gotta cherry pick this one because it is like, I don't know why it's this big pet peeve for me. From Chick too. Would be great to have a movable global setting when planes should leave after their departure time so they don't sit a long time waiting for a couple of passengers. Okay, this is a pet peeve because the only time that an airplane should ever wait for passengers if the passenger is in the queue for the airplane. So and I think you know this, so I got less excited to explain it. Because I suspect what you're gonna tell me is that you wanted to cut those passengers off, even though they're in the line. Once it gets to X after the time, you just want it cut off. If that is correct, blink twice. If that is accurate, though, I can buy into that. I think we put it behind research and put it on ops control panel.
So like depart 20 minutes early.
Yeah,
Or
basically.
cutoff.
Yeah, basically a forced departure cutoff, even when they're in line.
That would extremely help for remote gates, by the way, since remote gates, the bus will wait until the last minute, and the bus still has to drive from the gate, from the bus pickup, all the way over to the gate, and all of that is already negative or lateness of the plane.
But so would you cut it off even when the bus, not when the bus is on its way, though?
No, but I'd say for normal gates, if you say last boarding time is 20 minutes pre-departure, no passenger can go past the gate agent after 20 minutes pre-departure. And the same would be for remote gates. And at that point, you can see that the bus has to leave by about 15 minutes before departure. So depending on the layout and size of the airport, it should still get to the plane, and the plane may actually still get out on point, on time. Even if a passenger or two are missing.
Yeah. I agree. We got 2 blinks over there, and I have now started my list for after this. This can be put in this cycle. I totally agree. It's something been asked for a while. In my mind, it shouldn't really be a problem, but I also get it.
Also for this cycle, before we get it asked 100 times, at least large and possibly extra large remote stands. I just didn't get them in, and we moved over to modding before getting those in last cycle. So they will be in next cycle.
Yeah, and to kind of go off of that topic, what are the plans for the next couple of cycles? So we're kind of fleshing that out live in front of your eyes for this cycle. The theme in our mind is polish, is stuff like this setting. It's a great example of things that have kind of been overlooked, where that are just almost in no-brainer territory. Usability stuff, UI, UX, and I don't think we'll have any like drastic. I know people still think it's, it's largely been a programmer designed UI. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's actually fairly solid.
We can't really tell. We are the programmers. If it's a
Yeah,
programmer designed UI, the programmer will always be happy with it.
in a past life, I spent lots of meetings and lots of time in meetings with information architecture guys, and trying to be the go-between between the client. I never was a big fan of that job title. And so it's not that I don't want to improve our usability. It's more a matter of it's not. I don't feel like it's broken, so why fix it? I don't know. But what we do want to fix are like quirks or major pain points in terms of UI, UX, also things like this setting. Basically, like this setting is truly the primo example. It's like something that is probably a no-brainer, and I've been too stubborn to be persuaded. Marine and New Cotilla, and I apologize for butchering that, which I'm sure I did. It says on YouTube, so that means no big new things. And to an extent, it does mean that for this cycle. The intent of this cycle is definitely polish, is to really improve what's here. There's going to be some, like, we're going to add as Joshua just said, XL and large remote stands. There's probably a handful of others like along those lines where it basically should work. We just kind of never got back to finishing it. And by finishing it, in this case, largely just means adding the extra object and letting it run its course for a few weeks on edge, making sure that we didn't make any mistakes, that it looks okay. But the theme of this cycle is very, very much get the game ready to transition to full release. The following cycles, we probably will start adding more stuff again. It kind of comes down, I mean, quite honestly, to how much interest there is, how well the game does at release. At the end of the day, and this is something I'm going to be talking about in an upcoming devlog post. It's kind of the biggest bummer about this whole process is it's a business, and I personally wish that we could just keep working on the game forever. My wife tells me I can't mortgage the house to keep doing that, though. And so, if push comes to shove, that's kind of the reality is the writing is on the wall in terms of how much longer we can stay in early access. And the answer is we need to get the game in a place. And in my opinion, it very much is. The game plays very well. I saw a guy, I had never seen the username before on a review here recently, so I don't think he's ever posted in the forums, and he had over 1,000 hours of gameplay, and that's beyond what I ever wished we'd be able to achieve, like far beyond. I didn't think we had a prayer of make it a game that cool. So does it mean no huge things this cycle? To some extent, that doesn't mean like there won't be. It's almost surprising. Some of the stuff that's the hardest and big to me may not be that big of an impact on gameplay, whereas some of the stuff like adding large XL remote stands, adding the setting, it may be pretty impactful for gameplay. So it's hard to say. Mod air, no. So that's kind of the idea behind. That's kind of the idea behind the modding, right? Is what we want to do is make sure that you guys have tools that you can use to continue building stuff, and we want to continue. Yeah, exactly. 2,000 hours. I love that. I think that's great. It's honestly, it's an honor. But yeah, so I mean, that's really the plan. The game, I sure hope the game won't die. I know I'll personally be contributing code to it for a very long time, even if it's just because it's stuff I want. There's still plenty of stuff I want to add to the game, but at the same time, it's a balance because we got also. It's a business at the end of the day too. We will have updates after release. There's zero question about it. Cal 3432S, will there be DLC? Many of you probably know I hate DLC just like as a concept. We probably will release some kind of DLC at some point though. It's not going to be like core functionality. I've said that a number of times. I would like to release some kind of like supporters pack so that if you played 2,000 or 3,000 hours, then you can pay us $5-10 to get some extra objects that we make or something. But where you don't feel compelled to do it and there's no making you, it's really just a way to tip your cap to us type thing. We got all kinds of, the answers on that topic varied strongly when we surveyed. So I don't know. It's tough to say. This is such a, and I'm going to talk about this. This is the most emotional like job in the entire world. I swear it is. I mean, this game is like my baby. And so it's almost, I want to keep working on it for a very long time. But the truth is, we are going to keep working on it for a long time. We probably can't have 3 people full time working on it though. But who knows? Maybe after release, it gets more play from like your prime time streamers. It's really hard to say. That's probably the biggest thing that, if you have friends, tell them about the game. Especially if your friends are YouTubers with 2 million followers.
Or any social media with that amount of followers.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be YouTube.
That's the other thing too, is we've been so, and that's partially my fault, but I've been so focused on the game that we didn't do a whole lot of marketing, or we certainly didn't spend a whole bunch of money on marketing or anything. We spent all of our money and our time on making the game, and we continue to do that. I just think that's part of it's me stubborn. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the answer with the non-answer. Cal 3432. When will the scripting library be on Nugget? Joshua?
Whenever I get the time to. I haven't worked with Nugget yet, but I actually love it. It's way easier to work with.
Nougat, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how you say it though.
I'm German, so I'm saying it Nougat, but I have no idea if what's it in English. So don't ask me. By the way, a couple of people asked about the Discord. We've got 2 Discords where we are mainly active. I'm pretty much only active on the Discord mod I initially made and Alo now took care of. It's nothing official, but at least on that one I'm active, and pretty much everyone who's modding is over there. So if you need some help, you can usually get help regarding mods. Definitely regarding mods there, and any problem in game. Usually the guys are pretty helpful always.
Yeah, we should get that Discord link like added to the FAQ and stuff.
Making it more or less official. It's we don't really host too much ourselves. So this is
we're on there.
Yeah.
I think even I'm on there. I don't actually.
Yeah, you are on there. You're just pretty much never on Discord.
Well, if I'm on there, then I start talking to somebody about their save, and then next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock, and I'm supposed to go get off of here and go help with my kids. So I be careful not to get sucked into Discord.
Yeah, luckily they just added custom status messages, so I can always set myself on to bug hunting or something like that. And the guys know that I may respond delayed or just get the shortest of shortest responses to them.
Yeah, it's like they're finally catching up to AIM. Bella Bong, compliments on performance. Quite a few 9K airports waiting with terminals empty before putting those terminals into use would have made the game unplayable. Been able to complete them now. Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. One of the performance, there were several performance improvements this patch. One of them was quite an improvement on security finding. I think a couple of orders of magnitude improvement on that security algorithm, Joshua.
Oops. Yeah. It went like from the whole not only finding security but setting sectors and the stuff. Whenever you build or change direction on an escalator, the worst we had was like 25 seconds, and we changed not too much to optimize
like 3 lines of code,
pretty much, and got it down to 12 milliseconds. So pretty much not noticeable.
Quite a major improvement. There were also, there were a couple things that they were accidental performance improvements this cycle. I'm not even going to say what what one of them is, because then everybody will notice it. But it makes a very big difference. I think it doesn't look quite as good without it, but I have not seen anyone notice yet. Even though I'm sure it is noticed, it's probably well worth the trade-off. In any case, I'm very glad to hear the performances. It's amazing to me, like, you can run airports these days with 20,000 people in them. It may not be ideal, but it's pretty solid. And at the beginning, I would have been thrilled to get 200 or 300. Today, you can get many thousands. That's pretty cool.
By the way, someone asked about the new remote gates. I'm just gonna go ahead and build a couple.
Yeah. I'm not sure I've really even played with them much beyond placing them. Circe does on YouTube, love the game and its concept. Been looking for a game like this since Airport Mogul. I remember Airport Mogul. I remember how excited I was. I remember this when I bought it at the store. And here in the US, it was called Airport Tycoon. And it was, I think it was Airport Tycoon, but it was Airport Tycoon 2 or 3 maybe. It was the exact same game, and the reason I know is because it was so damn buggy that when it would crash after like 30 to 45 minutes, you would see, and I think it was Windows 95 or 98, you would see in Task Manager, when you went to end it, you would see airmogul.exe, and it was the same game. But I remember seeing being deleting that airmogul.exe out far more often than I ever wanted. But it was a beautiful game. It just didn't work very well. Randomness Extreme. Hello. Glad you've been able to get addicted to the game. I'm of the opinion that if you're going to be addicted to something like SimAirport is probably one of the good guys. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully not too much rage moments. I'm sure that they still occur here and there, but really, I think on the bug front we're doing pretty good. I've only seen a handful of emails related to bugs that I knew were going to be, that if it had been me, I would have been in a fit of rage. That's positive.
By the way, a couple of pretty lovely questions over on Twitch.
I shall hop to Twitch. Woo! Got some reading to do.
While you're reading,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna go real quick through how the remote gates work. So you've got new structure, the remote bus pickup, or if you have subscribed to it, the modded bus pickup from Chic, from Chic 10,000. You place this thing onto a terminal. It has these little crosswalk thingies, and on the other side you place some road. Connect the road up either to your taxiway system or to your road network. Place the remote stands, currently only small, but bigger ones coming, somewhere at the taxiway, and that's pretty much it. You will need a hangar with an apron bus, but that's pretty much it. The bus will go to the pickup, to gate, back to pickup. There's just one small addition that makes it look a bit nicer. If you place a road down along the side where there previously would be the terminal, then the buses will exit onto that road. So if you place two against each other like this, you can pretty much build a road on exactly the end of them, and the buses will enter from the taxiway, stop beside the plane, and go off onto the road.
I'm gonna come back to Edgy Sprat's question over here on Twitch, but Ben Hole 2006, which is a very good year. Question: if I build a terminal and runway on the other side of the LRT, will the planes know to use that runway? So I can't connect. Yes. So wherever you schedule, the gate will only become active once it's connected to a runway, and then the aircraft only land at runways that can get to their gate. If you have it scheduled in a way where it cannot get, no, it just won't land. But yeah, they're smart enough. You can put 2 runways over there. If they're not connected, which they won't be if they're on the left only, the aircraft will only arrive and depart on that side. And when you build gates on the left side, the validations will actually tell you that too. So for instance, if you put one on the left side that says arrivals only, and it's connected to the gate, but the gate doesn't have a departure runway, the gate will actually tell you that. But yeah, you can have disparate, we call them taxiway networks, and the aircraft are smart enough to figure out it's a reachability query, but they'll know what they can and can't reach. They'll select the correct runways, all that jazz. Like taking into account one ways and all that even. So you can have one ways on where only one of the runways is available to a gate for arrivals, and it'll know that, and it won't land the airplane on a spot where it can't get to the gate. Totally smart enough to do all that. That's not always been true, but it is true now. Cool, thank you. You are very welcome as well. Okay, so Edgy Sprat on Twitch asks, do you really have to calculate the best options for public transport? Couldn't passengers be assigned randomly assigned preferences when spawning? And if a randomly assigned time in a waiting zone, the bus stop has elapsed, passenger takes its personal second best option. So you not have to cross-check the different traffic routes to control passenger decisions. Okay, so the Las Vegas mic's still pretty low. I'm trying. Maybe that's better. And I don't know. It's turned up all the way.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty loud. I think this is a Twitch problem.
Maybe that. Okay. Okay, so the issue here, this is one of those where it seems so easy, and like I know it seemed very easy to Michael kind of tackled this as a side project one day before realizing, oh man, what have I gotten myself into? There's plenty of those pits when working on SimAirport. Okay, so the issue in this case, and just at the highest level, is first you have to figure out what ones are even reachable, because there may be drop-offs that cannot physically reach the gate he's going to. So that you have to run that calculation up front. Then what happens if you've got a drop-off that it can reach, but it's a 500 tile walk? If we just randomly assign them, then you're going to have guys that randomly end up getting dropped off at a bus station that's a 500 tile walk, even though there's another bus station that's a 2 tile walk. And so what ends up happening is, like, that example alone explains why you have to calculate. Now, some you might initially think, and I think Michael or I, or maybe both of us initially thought this, that, okay, so let's just calculate the best one. That only gets you so far, because now what happens when that best one is full? If you only know the best one, then all you can do is wait. Either he's going to go there or he's going to wait until there is capacity on the best option. That's not very realistic, because if you know traffic is really bad and it's going to take you 4 hours to get there through method A, you're going to start considering, hey, well, if I take the light rail, then the question becomes, which light rail stop do I get off at? Exact same issue. Is it reachable, and how far is the distance? And if you don't calculate that, then you can have the guy getting off at the light rail stop that's 500 tiles away, even though the other stop was only 2 tiles away. And then you're back to the capacity problem. So what you have to do is come up with, and this is the way it works. Last I looked, although some of this code changes pretty quick, but basically you have to come up with heuristics of what's the best option, and you have to you basically penalize the option based on capacity, so that the option looks worse temporarily, and you evaluate that part of that every time. So we are able to like cache the distances. The distances can be shared for gates, for the entire gate. Although even then you get into some quirky stuff like one-ways. I'm sorry, not one-ways. First-class passengers, they may have to take a slightly different route because of where first-class available security is. So we actually have to run those distance calculations for not just once, but we have to figure out, is it the case that this airport has a different distance for first class passengers because the security only allows first class? And then same thing with flight crew. So the logic that I just described, it's kind of the logic of the day. The exact same thing happens for pathfinding too, to figure out which security do I go to. It's this balancing act of, this one's really close, but the line is very long. Does this one even get to my gate? It's that entire thing. And then you basically penalize stuff slightly based on how long the wait times are. Yeah, I mean, that's basically how the AI works in a nutshell. And it's basically the AI that picks where the drop-off is. It's slightly different. There's some optimizations that let it happen a little bit more at the per flight level, or really the per gate level, but it still has to get evaluated for each guy to take the capacity into account. Yeah, it's like shockingly complex for how simple the damn concept actually sounds. That's also why we put off putting in multiple drop-offs and pickups for as long as we did, because we were scared. We were pansies. Let's see. Yawaris, is there any connection to Airport CEO? You always get updates. Maybe check your internet. No, there is no connection. We're aware of Airport CEO, and I have not played it. I know it's Joshua has played it a while back. He said not very much, but we are just talking about it earlier. My understanding, without playing it, is it's a fairly distinct game. It's a little bit more of a. I was telling Josh at this. The way I see it, it's kind of a pure simulation with no real thought towards. I don't want to say that making a game is hard. I don't want to put anyone down. With less thought towards making it fun. But again, I've never played it. But no, we don't have any connection. That's really my extent of knowledge on what they're doing. I wish them all the best. Making a game is really, really hard.
But also really, really rewarding. Especially with such a nice community.
Yeah, that's why I said this a little bit ago. It's the most emotional thing I've ever done in my life. When it comes to like job or career, it's the most rewarding. It is also like it can be the most frustrating. It is. It's such a unique thing. Um, it is. It can be very rewarding. It's a hell of a lot more work. People. My wife tries to socialize me, and we'll have people over for dinner or something, and I say, they're like, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "I make video games," and they're like, "Oh, that must be fun." I think they picture me sitting there with an Xbox controller all day or something, and couldn't be further from the truth. But that's how it goes. Hey, Robert Walker just purchased your newbie. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the game. We love newbies. We love seeing new faces in the forum, especially like that's what's so incredible to me. The game's been out for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in just a few months now, right?
Around March.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. And there's new faces coming in, people we've never even talked to that are just finding it and playing and having a good time. It's like when I saw that guy in the forum uh, in the review the other day that he's got 1,000 hours and never once posted in the forum. It's like holy moly! That's as rewarding as it gets. So I hope, Robert, you end up with 1,000 hours too. Sorry if there's any addiction, but yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. Yeah, Bellabong construction late game used to be a nightmare. That was that bug that Josh and I were talking about, the 25 seconds down to like 12 milliseconds or something. That might have been. I was actually very proud that morning of being able to spot what that was. Cal 3432. What would you do if SimAirport suddenly blew up and was insanely popular? You know, there are a few things I would do. I'm almost ashamed to admit them though. Um, I'd love to. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably get shit for this, but um, I'd love to do the game at full 3D. Um, Certainly doable. It's out of the scope of what we could do, what we can realistically do, unless the game goes bonkers at release. I also don't know how well we could get it to perform, but uh, there are some things I would love to do post launch if it does blow up that are more realistic. I'd love to get that, like the outdoor area. I'd love to make it so that you've got. I was talking about this earlier, but really go crazy on giving you as much space as you want to build runways, taxiways. The other thing I really want to do is, for one, I want to learn how, because it pissed me off that 3 years, 4 years in development, I still am terrible at this, getting better, but I want to make the game look better. We've gotten better at it, but still don't excel by any means. It bugs me sometimes when I look at the game and say, "Oh, the gameplay is so damn good, and the graphics are such a detraction. And I know a lot of people don't care that much, but I'd love to like even see lighting play a bigger, or at least like be more legit looking, and not be a performance drain. Some things along those lines, and probably add a little bit of content. The other big one though that I'd love to do is events. I was thinking about it last night, like why the hell don't we? And then my reality sets in. I'm like, don't be an idiot, Arthur. We can't. It seems so simple, and then you've got all these new behaviors that have to be accounted for, and it's very bug prone. Is maybe the more direct way of saying it. Those are some things I would love to do. It's going to come down to how far we can go down that path with stuff that is bug prone. It comes down to how well the game does over the next like 4 to 6 months. Basically, a release. We can do a lot of this stuff that's lower risk. What I don't want to do is put us in a spot where we add something really cool, but we introduce a whole bunch of bugs, and then we're out of money to continue working on them because we spent 3 months building a cool new feature, and I don't want to put us in a spot like that. That's why I say right now the name of the game is very much I want to polish. I want to add the stuff that we just forgot or that is moderately low risk. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Sorry. Hopefully you guys know, for those of you who haven't joined us on a live stream before, I know how to answer the simplest questions with the longest wind. That's why we call these fireside chats. We just kind of shoot the breeze and talk about whatever the topic is.
By the way, I think you didn't even see that one. There was a really lovely feature request by Ajax over on when the last cycle went to experimental. We had the graphics with 2 crosswalks on remote bus pickups, but we never actually had any functionality for them. I always saw it as you couldn't either use this door or this door. But he got the idea, maybe just add 2 doors and make 1 exit only and 1 entrance only to the bus. Was pretty easy addition. The functionality, the door search, just had to look further and see if there's a second door. Add some arrows showing which one is which, and as you can see, and a small switch entry exit button, and that's pretty much all there was to it. But it's a small lovely feature, and which means technically you can completely separate these flows of traffic and passengers, but I decided to only do a little bit.
I see. That's why.
Yeah, it doesn't work if you only have 1 door. It will just use the 1 door as both, and it won't show up as optional at all. If you have 2 doors, it will automatically detect it and show you the arrows if you click on it, and you can switch around as much as you like.
I had no idea. That's very cool.
Yeah. Small lovely feature. I never got the idea for it. So this is the stuff we really love. Getting on edge and experimental. It's just stuff we don't think about, but that's pretty, or rather simple to add.
And it's like that's like, yeah, it's a great example of the kind of stuff that we want to be looking at this cycle. It's extremely low risk. It adds like quite a bit of gameplay value, and it's something that I didn't even know it was in. You must have seen it on the forum or on Discord.
No, it was actually a discussion over on the Steam forum, and it's really interesting. There were 2 bugs with it, and the bugs weren't bad because it's such a simple thing. The worst bug was it didn't save, so you had to switch after reloading, and the errors were not calculated correctly if you switch. The position of them was not correctly calculated because vector math is
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm surprised I missed it, but yeah, like I love this kind of stuff. That's fantastic.
By the way,
Um,
exit
yeah.
and entrance for all gates. Um, that's pretty hard actually, since you only have one. I mean, on remote gates, this is there's enough space for 2 doors, but on the actual gates, there's usually just one door, so you can't really split it off. What
You
could
can
be
make it like an
possible?
object. You can make it. That's what I always envisioned it would be when people ask for this. Is make an object like basically a splitter, for lack of a better.
Yeah, that's literally
Right.
what I just wanted to talk about. You could
Yeah.
place a splitter here and pretty much move the entrance door a bit further and have an exit to either side, and maybe go down directly and then to baggage claim or something. I know that my local airport pretty much does that. But I know, for example, Palma Airport in Mallorca doesn't do it. They just have the door and up to open space. So it really
Yeah.
depends on airport.
Well, that's how almost all airports are. When you're flying domestically in the U.S., when you're flying internationally or you're an international arrival, usually they do have a split for fairly logical reasons.
Yeah, but that's not the split of arrival versus departure. That's the split for Americans versus non-Americans, I guess.
No, it is. It's because even Americans have to walk through customs too, and we
Okay.
just the questions are a little easier, or well, these days I don't know. They still probably want to search your electronic devices, even if you're an American.
Because that's pretty much
they,
what it was
yeah,
over in Hanover.
yeah, they split it.
Also, entrance first floor and exit ground floor. I don't know what you think about that, but I would never add that. Maybe entrance and exit on 2 floors, so floor 2 and 3, for really, really big planes like an A380 and the 747. But
Yeah,
I have never seen a gate where there's just simply an exit and an entrance finger of the airport on one level and one exit, the entry on one level and the exit on another level. It's
so
always inside the building.
LaGuardia has it. It's like on half level for international arrivals. I don't know why it's like this. It may just be because it was like the cheapest way to make it like universal jetway that would fit larger aircraft. I'm not totally sure, but you come in on like level 0.5 and then you go up and down a series of ramps. But you do the same thing to board as well, I believe.
Well, yeah, you still have the same finger to go along, but I
Yeah.
guess it's again inside the airport itself where you get splitted. So maybe it's, yeah, in this case it's on level 0.5, and because it was just easier. But like there's never a thing where you come out of the finger and arrivals are split down before you enter the terminal, and departures are a level higher. That just doesn't happen. The
Yeah.
finger always ends somewhere or the jetway always ends somewhere on the terminal, and from there on you get splitted.
Yeah, and I mean that just indicates a splitter object. I'm not opposed. It should just work. Like my concern with those types of things is what are the implications on pathfinding? and it should just work. You just path them to the door, to the object. Okay. I'm gonna write that down.
I think for arrival passengers, it shouldn't make such a big difference. They can just not walk. They can only walk the exit path, making it a one-way path. The big point would be for departure passengers. There should be two systems. One to never get them into this space, into the placeable. Because if they get there into it once and you have a completely separate system, they have to cycle security. So I'd say they cannot enter this placeable, or they cannot enter the space, except if they are in the tasks to board the plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that's like the only special case about it.
I'm thinking. Even then I don't see. Yeah, I don't see why not. That's also one of these that it could very well get halfway into it and realize something totally missing. But yeah, I don't see why not. Max, and I'm sorry I don't know how to say your name. I know that you have done an entire translation for us, though, single-handedly. So everybody, please thank Max. Says, please update the Trello roadmap, and we will do that. I did update it. It was a couple weeks back, but not since the patch went up. We will get it updated, and we'll get it reflecting kind of some of the stuff we talk about here today too. Benhole 2006 on Twitch. Two things. He said, would you be able to add a second color to the taxi planning? You can consider that done. That's a very easy one to do, and it makes sense. I found myself wanting that as well. And he asked how many people.
Yeah. But while talking about it, and while we're talking about fancying stuff up, I'd still got a better planning mode in the back of my head. Something where you can select pretty much any object, hold shift, and ghost plan.
Like Factorio.
Pretty much, yeah.
I know. What's the benefit? I guess
it's way more fancy. That's point one. But it's easier to plan with, since you actually see the object there on the map. Plus, you can then add the quick picking functionality to also work on ghost objects, which means if you plan something and you want to just build it, you quick pick it and place it. Or if you want to plan a whole area, you could make it a build tool pretty much. If you select the whole area gets built with placeables.
I'm thinking. I think I remain unconvinced. So to me, it's the same as building it all out while you're in pause, and then the real material difference is that when you cancel one of those or don't choose to build it, you never lost money.
Exactly.
It's the only real material difference. Okay. For that reason, I'm out. Yeah, I'm unconvinced. For those of you that don't watch Shark Tank, I think it takes away. I think it takes away from. So, in my mind, right, then it's like, well, why not just let you place it without, and then if you cancel it, just give you a refund right away. It's basically the same thing, right?
Depends. If you want
what's-
to plan long term, it's way easier to plan even with ghost mode. And if you then want to replace or didn't plan correctly your whole terminal way in the future, you can just remove the whole planned terminal, which is instant. Versus even if you have if you build everything in powers, you already had to give up the money, and then you have to remove it in the future. So you wasted the money, right? Because it's further in the future. Plus, it takes a long time to remove all of it.
And does it still respect validations?
That's a question you could ask. Factorio actually does it.
Does it?
Yeah, Factorio does validation and even interaction with actual objects. Like power lines, if you place them down, you can see which connections would be made. But I'd say for simple planning mode like we have, it's completely enough to not validate stuff.
Well,
So you
I
can,
see on Ben Hull over here mentioned make sure it would account for restrictions like taxi. So the question then that I have is, what happens if an object requires indoor area and you don't have an indoor area where you want to plan one? How does Factorio handle that?
well, there's nothing like this in Factorio. In Factorio, you can place an object at some position, and there's really simple restrictions. There's maybe water, which you can place on, or another object.
So there's no terrain level.
No, there's cliffs, but they are only in 2D and fake 3D. They only seem 3D, but the level doesn't change. So in Factorio, you pretty much only have cell can be placed or cannot be placed, and that's pretty much all validation there is.
Gotcha. Yeah. So well, that's basically what it comes down to is if you either it honors all validation. If it doesn't honor the validation, it's not overly useful because then when you go to build it, it's gonna fail to build because it's an invalid placement. So then you have to validate or it's worthless at that point. You can't use it outside in an area you plan to make indoors without really jumping through some hoops to keep track of a second map state, essentially.
Yeah, that would be pretty much a second website.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm less convinced now then. If anything, I do follow what you're saying. It's a matter of the map state part. Yeah, that's a negative. Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. I saw a question. Like Factorio, I'm playing right now. Yeah, I was over on Twitch. I've never played Factorio.
Impossible. Actually, maybe possible, but still impossible.
Yeah, I just
actually don't play it. You won't get shit done.
Yeah, I've heard it's great. I think I saw. Did they just come out of early access or?
They want to. They're on 17 point something.
September, I think is what I read. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite an impressive project. I've read their dev blogs quite a bit. And yeah, they're lucky. It sounds like they've got quite a large team working on that game. And it's a custom engine. But the amount of time they've been able to spend on textures, on like texture blending for a single tile and the high resolution textures they're using blows my mind. It's probably an order of magnitude more than we've been able to spend on anything, like any single thing. They've done an incredible job just from what I've read and seen, but it's a different scale of game. I saw a.
You saw a?
I thought I saw a question and I lost it. Was it over here? Edgy Sprat. Do you have an approximate time to leave early access? Yeah, actually, the goal is after this current cycle, and we had really in the forum posts. I'm sorry, the announcements we'd said end of year, which to me is clearly no sooner than the last day of December. Really though, it'll probably be plus 30 days from that because of some Steam rules about releasing and their events. We probably are gonna have to be plus or minus 30 days. But basically after this cycle we hope to be transitioned to release probably a week or two after the next patch comes out, the next default patch. And then, yeah, I mean, then we'll start on the next cycle, though. It really won't be wholly different from what you're used to. It's more of a milestone than anything else. It also, I mean, it's a big milestone. It's an emotional win. Send us that video montage, the tooltip idea. Yeah, send it over. That's actually another good example of the tooltips. We've wanted this in there, a setting for how long tooltips before they show up.
Possibly maybe an option to disable then except for if you hit a specific key.
Yeah, exactly.
I know some people definitely don't need them anymore.
There are some that it's funny. I kind of like them, but yeah, in a few places they can get annoying. Although I think it's a lot better at being smart enough to like not get in your way now. I remember they used to really piss me off on the flight scheduler. I think they are substantially better at this point, though. But yeah, there are a couple that I find super useful, like the aircraft and aircraft gate. But even still, yeah, you just hover for a little bit longer and you get what you need. Hubbit 200, any progress on the roads not connecting to taxiways bug?
Road bug. I think we've got it fixed on another branch with another feature. We didn't get into this one.
This is a visual bug only, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Steam Stream is still working.
More or less. It's pretty annoying. Twitch and YouTube both have pop-out chats, but Steam doesn't. So I have to have the full Steam window open. So I've got like a third of my screen to the right for Twitch, 1/3 for YouTube, and then the rest is for Steam. But I can only see the chat since it doesn't have a pop-out chat. So I still always see the stream a little bit, and it seems to cut out now and then.
You and your fancy new monitor, huh?
That's not even my fancy new monitor. The fancy new monitor is the main monitor.
Oh no. Yeah, I remember back on Windows days.
What do you remember?
back when I had Windows, I was a PC guy for a long time, and I used to run 6 20-inch monitors, and then I switched to Mac, and I can work off a 15-inch laptop.
I'm running 3 now, and to stream you cannot run less. Especially if you stream to 3 platforms at the same time, you will need one screen just for
Yeah,
chat. And then I've got
yeah.
the left screen is for audio and OBS and the call in for us.
I'll agree that even when I stream all local, I run two monitors, but I'm running 2 different computers. But yeah, no, I hear that. I will say these days I don't just to code. Honestly, when I first got a Mac like 12, 15 years ago, well, aside from the original, like I had an Apple II long time ago, but first modern Mac, I found myself not needing Windows everywhere. I don't know, it's so weird. All of a sudden, I was just more productive.
Yeah, I couldn't work with that. Just same reason pretty much for Linux. I'd love to work with the Linux, but Visual Studio doesn't work on Linux.
No kidding? I didn't know that. Yeah, it's not bad these days.
It doesn't work on Mac either. You don't have Visual Studio. That's what you have is Xamarin Studio.
Yeah, Mono. They call it Visual Studio.
Yeah. It's not comparable.
Benhole 2006 says, when you build an underground road, are we not supposed to be able to tunnel under outdoor lights? Wouldn't let me build until I remove the lights.
That's definitely an oversight.
I'm not even sure how that could happen. Are you playing on Edge?
But it doesn't make a difference now.
Shipped it today. Okay. Huh. That's a bug. Definitely not intentional.
By the way,
they have dug deep. Ooh.
By the way, Twitch is starting a movement to get Arthur over to PC. To be fair, I'd actually like him to stay on Mac, just for the fact that it means Mac is always gonna be supported, and due to Mac being supported, Linux is pretty much always supported. And I know that makes a couple of people, at least QCS, happy, since other games, like in this genre that we talked about, does not support Linux.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, Linux is a pain to support. I will say though that the refund rate on Linux is the lowest of any platform, and so that almost makes it worth it, even though there are very, very, very few Linux players out there, and the amount of time I've spent booting into Linux is way higher than I ever wanted it to be, and debugging random library path issues and all kinds of stuff. But it almost makes it worth it that the refund rate is so low on Linux. I appreciate all you Linux people, and I love Linux. I've never been a daily user of a Linux machine with a GUI, but I love Linux when it comes to servers or anything. So it's not like it's the worst day of my life having to debug on a Linux machine.
To be fair, the tooling is also getting better, especially like C# stuff on pretty much anything platform independent. I can still remember the days where we talked about the open save dialog not correctly working, and you said, yeah, let Unity handle it. And I said, no, let's just let the system handle it. And I had to prove you that Mono does the perfect job of that.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, C# has gotten much better.
And it's still getting even better.
Yeah, they're really investing. It's a cycle like I recall seeing about 10 years ago playing out again. Microsoft all of a sudden is pretty into devs, and meanwhile Apple makes our lives all harder with there's not a MacBook that you could buy until just the other day that any developer could actually use. I bought one of the the MacBooks just before for the Touch Bar. You remember that? I think it was 2 years ago. First time I'd ever returned a MacBook Pro because I would be coding and I would hit the G button and out would pop 3 Gs. And it was so frustrating to be writing code and feel like the keyboard had its own mind. So frustrating. Eurus on Twitch. Will there be multiplayer? There will not be.
You can
We
make
talked about-
one. You could try to make one with mods. That's certainly possible. It's just gonna be extremely hard.
It would be a lot of work. We've tossed around like ideas of how to make it. So I'm a competitive person. I like competition in anything that I do. I'll gamble on anything. It could be the most benign thing there is. I really enjoy competition. I would love to find some way to involve competition in this. Like, we've had some really lighthearted discussions about how to maybe do like a leaderboard type gameplay thing or some kind of competitive thing, but yeah, no multiplayer. I'm glad to hear it was just a joke. You'd be surprised how often we get an email or just via whatever channel of somebody actually wanting multiplayer. I would love to find some way to make it a competitive experience out of it, though.
And maybe we get a lovely idea at some point and add it.
Ooh, here's a good one I haven't heard in a long time. Goy Ania 2121 on YouTube. Why are the baggage claims outside the security area? I've never seen an airport or any part of the world where it works like that. And I see, yeah, people have told you that that's how it is in the U.S. That's right. In almost every airport, I think there are a few international arrivals areas that may have a baggage claim inside of security in the U.S., but all domestic, always outside of security. That's what we modeled it after, and then we got a lot of people asking that exact same question because we actually used to force you to put it in a non-secure area. We changed that a year or so ago where you can now build it in a secure area if you want to. You just have to be aware that means your passengers will stay in the secure area if they're waiting on a bag. And so if your restrooms are all in the insecure area, your passengers are gonna be pissed if they gotta use it because they won't be able to. But yeah, that's the explanation. Hubbit 200, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry you're not a Mac convert. That's fine. Teach their own. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you staying with us for this long multi-year journey. It's always good to see you.
On the baggage claim, by the way, I think usually over here it's either inside the security or secure area, but the local airport, the smaller one, does is they have one-way doors or locks where you go through into the baggage claim, and then again one-way door locks out of baggage claim.
Yeah, that's a pretty new thing though. The one-way door locks, like new in the last 5 to maybe 10. I think about 5 years though. I actually had not seen it in the U.S. at all until the last time I flew somewhere, which was several months back. I went to the in-laws, and I saw it in Minneapolis St. Paul Airport. They had those in those security exit glass, it's like an airlock style.
Yeah.
I've never seen that at a U.S. airport until not flying domestically. I know the international arrivals areas have had them for a little while, but I was kind of pumped to see something new in an airport.
Yeah, our local airport just reworked the whole security stuff. in the main terminal. It's currently still working in the secondary terminal, but they also got the new body scanners, which are fancy, but extremely slow. Like they're way smaller than the body scanners you see in game in SimAirport. And
Really?
yeah, it's just two like big side panels, and you stay in between the big side panels. It's like 2 meters wide, so some amount of freedom units for you. 2 meters wide. It's a pretty big space. You can easily step in, and it's not high, not any point high from the ground. It's flush with the ground. It's really high tech, but stepping into them, it takes like 20 seconds to scan. Then you step out,
Wow.
and it takes another 30 seconds or so to analyze the scan and actually show the agent what's going on. So all in all, it takes really, really long to get through them. They are not really efficient in capacity.
Yeah, it sounds super. Even the ones here, which do look like what's in game, I mean that they're slower than metal detectors for sure, as long as most of the people don't have a bunch of metal on them. But yeah, I'm surprised to hear that. I saw new equipment in security when I flew to Minnesota that weekend. They had new security belts, so it was a new set of bins and a new bin system where the bins would automatically fall down into a thing at the end of the conveyor. So I don't know if it was sending them back automatically too. It was much more efficient though, like substantially more efficient. Except for the scanning was, they were very, very slow on that part. But um, they had done a bunch of, it was much more efficient setup overall. Source does cargo services. Yeah, we've talked about this a good bit. Although not as much super recently. It would be post release.
Well, it will definitely be post-release since that's pretty big addition.
How big is it though?
Depends on how big you want to make it. So you could make it everything from a simple special gate that has a truck stop or something, up to special stands that have these small little cars that get these. The cargo this has these really, really special cargo containers for planes, if you know them,
Yeah.
which with this small cut off on the one side. And you could make it all the way complex to have special stands, get cargo cars to move them to a terminal kind of thing, unload them there, possibly reload and maybe offload the container and reroute stuff.
What are you talking? I mean, conveyor belts, basically,
Basically,
that
yeah.
have objects on them.
So you can really make a system of conveyors. Maybe something like a small factorio inside the terminal, and then get all of it to trucks and move it out of the airport.
I guess my point is, isn't it the same as the baggage system now, just slightly different objects?
A bit more different, since baggage is pretty much automatically moving from A to B, and it has sorting, just big sorting hubs. You may directly implement some systems like customs in it. So some stuff has to be routed to an object that specifically scans packages, and maybe some stuff gets routed directly out to trucks. Some stuff may completely be routed back around, and it isn't really the big hubs anymore, but small turn plates that do the routing.
Hmm.
It's similar, but not exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you're describing is just a more detail, higher level of detail for the sorting aspect.
Pretty much, yeah. Since like baggage, it goes from A to B. There's not too much interesting in that. It lands at some gate at some point,
I follow.
right? But
Yeah, and I mean we certainly do, like, we simplify it for sure. Although I think that we got baggage right in terms of the level of simplification that we did with it. Um,
baggage is,
so
I'd say baggage is something you have to have for a bigger airport. So you don't
yeah,
making it a feature that takes long time to work on specifically. It's not too much fun. But having a terminal specific for package and rerouting and handling of packages and containers coming in and out and
yeah.
trucks in and out.
Your
That's
argument is that you can make it pretty complex and deep
yeah.
because
Um,
it's not an early game, it's not a mid game requirement. It's something that you could have
exactly.
be solely late game. I could buy that.
By the way,
I could,
could you
yeah.
note this one as as an issue? Maybe with a screenshot. Lights on large gates, and
Or yeah, screwed up size.
yeah, they are still the size of small gates. That's an easy fix, but I think I made them hard coded because I didn't want the big gate to be an object itself, a prefab still. But I missed that one apparently. And it went through Edge, and no one saw it on Edge.
I saw it as soon as it got dark the first night too, and I totally forgot to write it down too. I also noticed I don't think you've got any light on the remote stands.
Sure. Which is actually the remote stand still has an offset graphic, which is funky. I totally forgot to fix this one, just so you may put it up as an issue too. But yeah, I don't actually know about the lights on remote gates. They currently have lights, but is that actually realistic? Like, should they have lights?
Yeah, lights is a topic that I want to look at a little closer. I swear we could do these lights in a single draw.
Well, in this case, I mean, should the placeable itself, like the remote gate, should the remote gate have lights, or should the remote gate be dark completely, and the player has to place lights outside of the gate?
Yeah, I understand. Right now, the problem right now is, like, I think it should be the latter. The player has to place them. The problem right now is that lights are too expensive when they're placed. Well, even when not placed. Um, yeah, it looks. It probably shouldn't. It should probably have a pole light out there or something.
Possibly
Um,
as a gate upgrade, actually. So you can upgrade on specific positions on the gate with pole lights.
yeah. I don't love the upgrade, but yeah, it's the same concept, so why not? I guess. Yeah. Basically, it's a hack to be able to put two objects on one spot.
Yeah, that's why I meant make
Yeah.
it an upgrade. By the
Yeah.
way, Edgy Spread is going off and he says Gute Nacht, so I'm gonna say Gute Nacht too, which is good night in German.
Good night, Edgy Sprat. In fact, maybe that's a good place for us to call it a good night as well. I don't know if anybody else has more questions for us. I think we got through most of them. I'm sure there's some we missed. I'll
If you
take full blame for that too. I could ramble on forever if you'd let me.
if you don't mind, I'd go like 10 minutes more and just fast forward real quick and show off one cycle of remote gates
Oh
because we haven't
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it.
Actually, we get yeah. I got nowhere to go. I'm gonna step out for just a moment and use the restroom. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Also, ECL1, whatever the name should be exactly, uh, asked on Twitch, did you guys change back to the old models? I think you mean the models of agents. Those can be set now. You can go over to options and gameplay and use the legacy sprites. If you switch them, then they instantly switch over between the two. I like the older sprites more than the newer sprites, but many people ask to get the old sprites back in because when we changed to the new ones, and we had to add them back. So if you want, you can just switch between them. And for everyone not having any experience with the remote gates, this is pretty much the setup you want to have. Somewhere you want to have at least a hangar with one bus per gate is pretty nice, but you should always remember that the bus can only have or only handle up to 150 passengers. And if you want to handle more, you can either have two buses for one gate, or the same bus has to go back and forth. And if you just think about the efficiency, if one bus comes over to the gate, picks up passengers, drives all the way to the pickup, drops them off, goes to the gate again, picks them up, and picks the rest up, and then goes to the gate and pick up again. That's that's really time consuming. So the better option is to have several buses in that case. So if you're expecting a plane with like 200 passengers, two buses would definitely be the better option. Bye bye, Modea. Regarding the remote bus pickup themselves, they are pretty simple. Like I said, they have the switch system. If you have two doors, if you have just one door, it's used as entry and exit. Buses will park in the spot over here or on the slanted one by chick over here. And they will offload. If they can, they will just turn around and instantly load again and then go to the gate. Which we'll see in a second. I've only got smaller planes, but they should work pretty much fine. This one is really small, but should still have a bunch of passengers. As you can see, several buses making the way out. One for this one and one for this plane coming out to this gate. The bus will have to go to the taxiway and then onto the gate. We'll just offload. And as you can see, you can fit like 3 buses on the gate without a problem. Like I said, the buses will try to use the road behind it. Not always use it if the position is not perfect, like I said. Here it will work, on the gate itself it won't. And then just drive over. Drop off. As you can see, those packs all use the exit one. Turn around. And load. Flag crew first. And then all the passengers. As soon as all the passengers are loaded, it takes a second to get them here. The bus will drive off and get them onto the plane. Guyana 2121 over on YouTube asking if there's gonna be more first class objects. Nothing planned. Though this stuff is actually something that can surely be added by mods. What you can do still is making first class cafes, for example. If you build a first class lounge and build another zone or something different, just object seating, whatever you want, behind the first class, so passengers can only exit through the first class lounge, the zone will automatically become a first class only. So you can effectively build first class toilets, for example. Ivirus over on Twitch. If you have freezes, you may want to check that your game is on the newest version. We specifically fixed one issue where placing stuff or building stuff in general was having extreme freezes. If you're still having freezes with the current update, be sure to send over your save and just let us know what you place, where you place it, all the stuff. Short description of the issue, and we'll take a look at it. Brooke Can over on YouTube asking is anything planned for business class? Not at the moment. The problem with another type of passenger is reachability. We talked about it previously on the stream. The issue with reachability is we have to calculate every time the map changes what is reachable from where. So like if you can reach this first class lounge from maybe this toilet, or even can you reach that first class lounge from all the way over here. And the more different agent types there are, the harder it is, or the more has to be calculated. So we want to not make too many agent types. And we already have staff. None, of course, but none just means no one can pass it. A wall always is none. Staff, first class, flight crew, and I think that's it currently. But like I said, adding more will always be costly.
And I am back. That's probably one of the mistakes we made. Probably the first class. So before we had one-ways, which we added when we added escalators. Those are one-ways as our moving walkways, and then now we have one-way objects too. But calculating reachability is not a huge issue, and you can actually share most of the data until you have one-ways. Once you have one-ways, your graph changes from being an undirected graph to a directed graph, meaning direction actually matters. And this gets way more math heavy than I ever, than far beyond what I could achieve in school, let's just say. I've had to learn it now, but some of this graphs theory stuff, it basically is very established that directed graphs, there's certain properties about them, and one of those properties is that you're unable to share that data in the same way. It also, the queries for reachability are much more complex. Not more complex, you have to run them in full. Whereas we were previously able to share basically all of that data between them and only run the deltas. It gets complicated, but we probably should have been more thoughtful up front about what the cost of adding the types would be. And possibly even made it so that first class lounges could only have an entrance and an exit at the same spot and not be like a segue through to another location. But that's part of what makes the game fun too, that shit all works. Sorry to steal that from you.
No problem. I was pretty much finished with it. But it's so, to summarize, it's not the reachability. Reachability is fine, but rather the TDH.
Yeah, and even it's so the issue is basically you have to calculate everything. You have to calculate for one. Every time you add an agent type, you got to run all those same calculations a second time just for that one, just for that agent type to see if they may have a distinct reachability. there's some shortcuts you can take, like if there are no first class lounges at all, you don't actually have to calculate first class reachability, and that's not even true. You have to also look at, are there any first class only queues or queues that cannot service first class. But yeah, I mean, basically in big O notation, it's an extra variable, and so we have to run all of the algorithms for reachability and distance a second time. Reachability actually can be shared. I worked on this. I was showing you some of this work like 6-7 months ago, Joshua. But the sharing, the amount of RAM that it takes to figure out whether you can share or not, the time to allocate that RAM ended up being, I think, a little bit slower than just running the calculation distinctly in many cases. Who knew that I was going to have to figure out all this graph theory crap? I just wanted to build an airport game.
So bad.
Yeah. So did you get it, have we had one of them?
What?
A remote gate?
Yes, I even explained a little bit how they work and what they do.
Cool.
By the way, yes, this is the fuel depot can be on the secure side of things. You just have to have an access way to it.
Which you can get with a gate, an outdoor gate. Or you could get it with you could do a tunnel too.
Would that still be secure? Does the security go down ramps?
I believe that the flood field does not. I wouldn't bet a whole lot of.
Can't really look over can't really use the sector display to look at it.
I would not bet a lot of money on it, but I don't think it does.
Programmers, knowing the code, forgetting the code you wrote last week.
There's a whole hell of a lot of code. A lot.
And the flood field is actually pretty old now. It's not too new.
It's funny because that area it gets tweaked. We were just messing with it early this cycle and really late 2 cycles ago, because there's a few different ways to skin the cat and get the exact same, or what we think is the exact same outcome, but like slightly nuanced, whether you start from insecure and go that way or start from a security zone. And yeah, it's kind of, it used to work that way where you start from security zone. Now it starts at spawn. I think it goes out to security and then security goes the other direction, something like that.
Yeah, about.
Oh, yeah, we have the Reddit AMA. Oh, it's a pretty quiet. Bummer.
What?
Yeah, if we should link it here, you guys should all go upvote it.
Go ahead, link it.
I don't know.
Was it taken down?
No. Did that go through? Yeah. If you guys don't mind, go click on that and upvote on Reddit if you have a Reddit account. Trying to see if we can't get some new eyes on the game a little bit, and yeah, any questions that random people might have that have never heard of the game or want to hear how it's made or anything. We're open books. Have you placed any of the, there's one thing I wanted to see was the, I don't know, it was a maple tree? It was a red tree. Started with the M. Wanted to see one in game.
The Japanese maple.
Japanese maple.
Let me play some. Oh, really interesting. It can be placed on fence.
It can be.
Yeah.
That would cause problems, probably.
You think
That
so?
means you might be able to place two of them on top of each other. Maybe not.
No.
You can't. Is it blocked by objects?
Yes. It's interestingly, you can also place it on roads. I guess Thunder has to add some categories to it.
Yeah, we should probably force it on all. No, you could place it on other objects.
No, you can't.
Try placing it
Oh
on
yeah,
top of.
indeed.
Yeah, that would be problematic.
You just can't
We
place it on building stuff.
we should force it to have static object validation. Adding to the list. I'm pretty sure all placeables should have that.
Looks funky somehow.
How do you mean?
It's like missing the trunk is funkily placed. Also, the road ramp is rendered above it. But that's a different issue. Looks like here it's on the street, but it's actually down below between the street and the fence.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, it's a kind of a top-down perspective. Yeah, it's maybe technically more right even. Don't know.
Well, I know it's the first mod on the workshop overall, and I know it was Thunder's first mod, so may still be in the works. Learning how stuff behaves in game from just modding.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that either. I want to see it. I know our decor is kind of devoid of color.
Well, it has some color, but just not really bright color. Like, look at the graphic chair.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I like the brightness. It's nice to see some saturation. I don't know what the right word is. I'm not a real good art kind of guy.
No, me neither.
I will say it's pretty.
Yeah, I like those trees. It could actually have some even better saturation, I think it is. Like, it could be a bit even brighter now.
You must have low-res textures on or something. Either that or I'm getting...
No, it's a mixture of the texture just being like that and compression. Like, remember, it's only 6,000 kilobit per second.
Gotcha. No, not on the tree though, so much like the chair that you were showing. The chair looked
Oh. Yeah, no idea about that one.
Yeah, sorry, and I'm seeing where you're pointing quite late. I think Twitch is a little bit faster. Yeah.
Issues all noted?
Yeah, I got them all. Pretty quiet, probably call it.
Ending
Although,
up on a bus, unloading the passengers. And Arthur's phone going.
yeah, and sounds like ESPN, maybe. Game starting just in time. I'm kidding. I actually have to go look after my oldest daughter. Is got a 102 fever, and gotta go cuddle her and probably watch some Mickey Mouse. Cool. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. We enjoyed it. As always, we will do another one for the next release. Yeah, we'll probably do quite a bit of streaming for the transition to full release. We got a pretty good list here from this stream. Also, just some stuff that came up tangentially. We will also get the roadmap updated. We'll get that done probably in the next 24 hours. And yeah, I think that's all I've got. We will see you guys on the forum. Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you all for continuing to support us. This has been crazy roller coaster of emotion, and I mean, it still is. Appreciate how much support there has been, and just sticking with us through, sometimes slower times and not always getting the feature you want in and all that. Yeah, just really appreciate the whole community. Cool. Anything to add, sir?
Just the usual words. Thanks for joining us as always, and happy to see you all next time.
Indeed.
Good night.
See you guys later.
Bye bye.
Thank you.